Hey guys, Dissler Magic here, and it is Tuesday the 22nd, so you know what that means. It is time to start, that's right, begin, that's right, for the very first time ever, never before seen, not before this date ever at all, the spoilers for Battlebond. So first up, we've got Rowan Kenrith. That's a weird way to spell Ashley Jenkins. So first of all, on the very bottom it says partner with Will Kenrith. Rowan Kenrith can be your commander. I don't know why they had to specify that. I thought that the official rules were officially... Oh, wait, because they designed this in 2016. I just got that. Well, what did they print it in 2016? They could have taken that off. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that any Planeswalker can be a commander now. I think that was a rules change. I'm like 84% certain. So anyway... comes out with 4 loyalty for 6 in red, which is pretty bad, honestly, but usually they make up for it. Or I said that backwards. Usually that's the balancing for the fact that it's overpowered. So let's see. During target player's next turn, each creature that player controls attacks if able. Ooh, gotta love a good old taunting ability. Good old Goblin Diplomats or Bident of Thassa or whatever your favorite card is. And -2, Ashley Jenkins deals 3 damage to each tapped creature target player controls. Ooh, not bad. And if your opponent's running dinosaurs, hey, enrage, because it says any player. Or I should say target player, it doesn't actually say any player. -8, target player gets an emblem with whenever you activate an ability that isn't a mana ability, copy it, you may choose new targets for the copy. That's historically a blue ability, but then again, I mean, you know, fork. That's pretty cool, double down on burn, but I don't know what kind of burn deck would run a 6-cost Planeswalker and be able to guard it. I mean, that's just odd. I mean, mid-range burn does exist, but I don't know, it's not good. So this is interesting, I guess. So remember though, anytime you play Ashley Jenkins, you can go get Will Kenrith. Well, either you or one of your allied teammate people. So if they can put it on the battlefield at the same time, that'll be pretty great. I'm going to take a wild guess that the other dude is blue and in the background of this artwork. I was going to do these in color order, but honestly with the whole partner with thing, I really probably shouldn't. So we've got Will Kenrith. From the artwork, I think we can pretty well infer that he's a full-time gay man and part-time lead singer of Wham. So he is also a 4 loyalty 6 cost, which is pretty damn bad to be perfectly honest, but once you drop him out, boom, immediate +2, and you've got 6. So his +2 is until your next turn. Up to 2 target creatures, each have base, power, and toughness 0, 3, and lose all abilities. Damn, that's vicious. That ability is in effect during your opponent's entire next turn. I mean, that just absolutely shuts down their 2 best creatures. This has got to be one of the most powerful pulls in the entire set. Now, the funny thing is, if he's in a pack, she's in a pack. That's an expensive pack. So -2 target player draws 2 cards until your next turn. Instant sorcery and planeswalker spells that player casts cost 2 less to cast. That's fun to say. So that is absolutely and completely insane. That can honestly single-handedly win the game. Remember, you drop him out, your partner goes and fetches his, I don't know, sister, we'll say. Yeah, I doubt they're married. I don't think he swings that direction. So then she's in your teammate's hand, and then boom, target player, them, draws 2 cards, and then, oh look, all of their spells, including planeswalker spells, are reduced by 2. Of course, that does leave him at 2 loyalty left, so, you know. So his -8 is target player gets an emblem with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it, you may choose new targets for that copy. I think that's exactly what hers was. Well, it is a blue ability traditionally, so okay. And I assume if you get both of their emblems out on the same player, they would just like clone a spell twice, which is pretty nuts. So a pretty good amount of power there. So next up in what is apparently no particular order, play of the game. So it has assist up to 6, so you can team up your mana together and blow everything straight to hell. And it exiles all non-land permanents, so anything in play that isn't a land, bye-bye. Now, I mean, if you each pay 4, it's like, yeah, you're still paying 8, but you're kind of really just paying 4, like if you pretend that it was a single-player game. And yeah, it would be better if they just cast Fumigate for 5, and then your allied teammate person, like, then drops something into the field after that with the remaining mana, but still, I mean... an all-exile instead of destroy board wipe for 4 each, it's not bad, but for 8, absolutely terrible. So I guess that's kind of neat. I mean, I like the idea of it. I think it would be fun to play with, but boy, are they killing any kind of residual value in any way, shape, or form of this card outside of basically 2-headed giant. You could do some kind of non-2-headed giant, like, team Commander multiplayer, maybe, but like that's awfully specific. But then again, I will add that you wouldn't necessarily have to be on a team. It just says another player can pay up to 6. So if you make a deal with an enemy in multiplayer Commander because there are no allies and you're like, hey, you want to pitch in for this spell? Boom. So next up, Gorm the Great, which is just the greatest name ever. I like the Kiss makeup he's got going on there. That's pretty baller. So he's a 2/7 and he's holding 2 shields, which is kind of funny, I guess. So he partners with Virtus the Veiled. He has Vigilance, and he must be blocked if able. So, I mean, 2 attack and must be blocked. He might be able to do something with that. I doubt that he's going to get killed on the block unless it has Death Touch, but you never know. Oh, and did I mention he has to be blocked by 2 or more creatures, if able? I assume that means that if they have 2 in play, they have to double block, and if they have 1 in play, they still have to single block. I believe that's the way they phrase that. So this could get annoying. I mean, it only costs 4. It's pretty reasonable. I could see this being a little bit of a problem, and I could see why it's a rare. Especially since if you strap basically any kind of weapon equipment to him, oh boy. Grant him first strike, grant him double strike, it is the end of the world. Even Death Touch, even equipment that says when he deals damage, draw a card. I mean, you could throw anything on this guy, and he will be absolutely crazy. So let's jump over to Virtus, the one that he's partnered with. If you're not familiar, partner with says when this creature enters the battlefield, target player may put, and then the other partner with card into their hand from their library and then shuffles. A lot of shuffling going to be happening. I mean, we really didn't need to slow down Two-Headed Giant. But this is absolutely insane because if you swung with him and Gorm at the same time, it'd be quite the combo. So he's a 1/1 Death Toucher, but if he deals combat damage to a player, like for example, if they had 2 creatures out and were forced to block Gorm instead, that player loses half their life rounded up. Damn, he ain't playing. So as a combo, they are absolutely insane. So next up, I think this might have been a previous spoiler video, but I don't remember, so what the hell. Soulblade Renewer, it's a 2/2 for 5. It has support 2, so when it enters battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 other target creatures. So you can't put it on him, but you can put it on your allies' creatures or your enemies if you really wanted. And he has partner with Soulblade Corruptor, so let's find out what that does. Well, we got Soulblade Corruptor here, 3/3 for 5 in black. From the artwork, I think it's safe to assume that the little background lore story for Soulblade Corruptor is that he likes to attend drag shows in Liliana cosplay. You go, girl. And give that sword back to Skyrim when you're done with it. So this is a 3/3 Death Toucher, and whenever a creature with a 1/1 counter on it attacks one of your opponents, that creature gains Death Touch until end of turn. Hey, what a great combination with support. The problem is, I mean, he's already a 3/3 Death Toucher. There's really next to no reason to have Death Touch be above 1 unless you really think they'll let it through. So you wouldn't really want to put the counter on him because he already has Death Touch anyway. So I don't know. It's a bit of an odd combo, but I think if you have anything else on the field, damn. Next up, Shoulder to Shoulder. This should look pretty damn familiar because it's support 2, draw a card. It's a sorcery, but it's still pretty good. I mean, just, oh, here, make things on the battlefield better, and then replace yourself. It is 3 mana, so it's not a true cantrip, but it's not bad. I mean, this is pretty damn good. By the way, I'm pretty sure that that's supposed to be Gideon in the artwork. I think they're fighting Eldrazi, which, that's a great match for the lore of this set. I mean, like, a card like Mighty Leap, it's just a dude jumping. Like, okay, whatever, it could be anybody. It's just some guy with the sword jumping. You could drop that into anything, but wouldn't it kind of break your immersion if you draw this and you're like, oh look, Gideon's on this plane fighting Eldrazi in the Colosseum for some reason. Really, Wizards, you couldn't replace the artwork when it's, like, arguably completely necessary? Also, who the hell's that in the background? Was that Gideon's sister, Gideonette? Or maybe that's, like, Thalia? Is that even the right plane? I don't know who the hell that is. This was a long time ago. Next up, we got Dwarven Lightsmith, straight from Thor Ragnarok there. Or if you were born with the unfortunate mental disability called being British, you'd call it Dwarven Lightsmith. So let's shine some light on this card here. It has assist 5, so you can just straight up 5-1 that if somebody has been mana screwed for like 17 turns. Seriously, people, stop keeping 1-landers. They do not work. The math doesn't add up. But anyway, when Dwarven Lightsmith enters the battlefield, creatures your team controls get +1/+1 until end of turn. So, complete garbage in single player, but if you both pitch in and each pay 3, this is pretty good. almost any other circumstance than that, and this is crap. Let me say that, it's cool you're teaming up and pooling your mana, and they've finally made the whole joke meme thing of, ooh, can I borrow your mana? into a real thing. But let me just say, okay, while this sounds cool and you can do some hyper powerful stuff and you can both pitch in if you're both like really on curve, but both of you would be using, theoretically all of your mana or close to it, we'll say, to bring out one creature and do one thing. What if your opponents are like, instead of this assist crap, we're going to do two things. We're going to bring out two appropriately costed creatures instead of this ridiculously overcosted creature, and then they swarm you with 2-to-1 creatures. So, I mean, just the mathematics of it, not great. So don't go thinking, oh, I'm going to do an all-assist deck. Between the two of you, you'll be playing as if you're one player, and then your opponents will be like, no, we're actually going to play like we're two players, and it's basically going to be 2 versus 1. The only benefit to these assist cards that I see is that you can cast them way earlier than you would normally be able to. So that's cool, but this doesn't seem like an early game card where it's like, oh, a 5/5 for 7 assist 5. That would be cool, but like this guy boosts creatures that are already out. If you cast him on turn 3 with 3/3 mana, so what? There's probably nothing else on the field. So this is actually a pretty bad card. Next up, we got a mythic Archfiend of Despair, costs 8, no assist, absolutely dead on arrival. There's no way in hell you're ever going to be able to cast this spell. And also, who the hell let him into the games? Does he look like he wouldn't cheat? Does that look like an upstanding member of the whatever the hell plane we're on, Sports Society Commission, whatever, their version of the NFL? Whoever let him into the game's done screwed up. Okay, so let's see what he does. Flying, your opponents can't gain life. Wonderful. 6/6. Great. At the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life equal to the life that player lost this turn. Oh, little after the fact double strike. I'm just realizing this sounds awfully familiar. Oh my gosh, I looked it up on Gatherer. This legitimately is not a reprint, but I swear I have seen a card that does almost exactly this, with almost exactly this power and toughness and almost this exact cost. So, I don't know. Sure, somebody put it in the comment section by now. So he's not legendary, so he can't be a commander. I mean, they're really limiting his value, but still, this is a pretty damn good card if you can just cheat it out, basically. You can just throw him onto the battlefield and use like passive life manipulation triggers and then just boom, 2-for-1 special at the end of turn. I mean, just like BFZ ally vampires, those like the bounce around life totals where, oh, every time they lose life, you gain it. Every time you gain it, they lose it. You know, that kind of stuff. Oh man, you pair those with lifelink and it's like all your lifelinkers have double strike. I mean, this would do some damage. Now you're probably gonna have to cheat him in though, because 8 is like ridiculous. But remember, there is, besides Relentless Rats and the other versions or version or whatever of Relentless Rats, I don't even remember how many there are at this point, there's also those, like Apostles or whatever, the demon cult member worshiper people, and I think it's like get out 5 or 6 of them or something like that, and then sack them all to go get a demon and place it directly into the battlefield from your library. This would be a pretty good fetch target for that. Well, the card is actually Shadowborn Apostle if you want to look it up. They're a 1/1 for 1, so, I mean, how would you really do damage with that deck? Almost with him exclusively, which seems like a dumb deck, but people play it. So anyway, next in black, we've got Mindblade Render. Remember, guys, they're playing sports. Non-violent, non-lethal, competitive sports, allegedly. What sport requires you to have mind blades? And what channel is it on? Because I'd like to check that out. But anyway, this is a 1/3 for 2. Whenever your opponents are dealt combat damage, if any of that damage was dealt by a warrior, you draw a card and lose 1 life. So that is a binary condition. It's not per warrior, I assume. I'd have to see the ruling. But the way it's written, I think that's what it would be. So, you know, a hit and draw, that's usually a blue mechanic, but occasionally it's a black thing. So I do kind of like this, and it is a warrior itself, so it's self-contained right there, which is good for draft because you might not get warrior synergy going very easily. But it looks like warrior tribal and like warrior subtype boost is going to be a thing in this set, so watch for that. Next up, Kraken Hatchling. This has to be a reprint. If it's not, I could name 10 other creatures that are just like this. It's a 0/4 for 1 in blue. Literally the least threatening Kraken in the entire game. It looks like if you squeezed him, he might make squeaky toy noises. So anyway, this is just a typical slow the game down, you know, mid-range protector kind of thing where you throw them out on turn 1 and you will get to turn 4 because they might as well just not swing. Longtime viewers of my channel know that I call these block cows because they just stand in the road and block things. Not dissimilar to a cow that got out of its pen. Next up, we've got clearly a social justice warrior. The armor and the weapon gave it away. I mean, if he was a social justice mage, he'd be wearing robes. Oh, where did I get the social justice part? They dye their hair so that we can all avoid them and not hire them. Isn't that nice that they self-identify? That's just so nice. It's so convenient. So he's got partner with Proud Mary, which currently is sitting at about a 5.9 out of 10 on IMDb. I haven't seen it, don't really recommend it. Watch the trailer, it kind of looked like crap. And whenever Impetuous Protege attacks, it gets plus X attack with plus 0 toughness until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among tapped creatures your opponents control. I don't think I've seen anything like that before. That's actually pretty darn unique, and that's kind of surprising because, like, it's so basic, it's so obvious. Now add in the fact that it's a 0/4 and this is just unusual. I mean, that drops it from like amazing down to, okay, that isn't very good. So basically they swing at you, maybe you block it, maybe you don't. I mean, if it's 5 attack, you don't, but this is guaranteed equal swing back, I guess you could say, like counter damage or whatever. Well, that is unless they have vigilance, then you're in trouble. But there are other ways to tap a creature. I mean, some kind of pacification array, icy manipulator, whatever, any kind of blue tap effect, specters, whatever come into play, you know, just, you guys know, anything to do with ice, you name it, they're tapped and this gets it. So almost the later this comes out, the better to an extent, because you could like tap down permanently a 7 attack creature or something, and damn, there you go, you got a 7/4 for 3. Pretty damn good value. The problem is he doesn't get it on defense, but, you know, whatever. So let's see what Proud Mary does. We got Proud Mary here with his equally stupid hairstyle. He's a 1/1 for 3 and saw this coming. You pay 1, tap him, and tap target creature. If he's swinging that around in a circle, why is the motion blur from the light equal on both sides instead of directionally? Yeah, just let that one sink in for a second. By the way, did I mention yet that some of the artwork for a lot of these cards is like odd? Like, I like the color choice, I like the style, I like the armor, it's unique. I guess, you know, as much as everybody's ripping on the hairstyle because, you know, SJWs and Wizards, maybe they all dye their hair on this plane. It's a thing, it gets you sponsorships for the games, the crowd loves it, you want to look flaming as hell, basically. But, you know, like the different, you know, different cultural things, the different, like, strategic armor, the weapons, the way that everybody dresses, the style, it's very unique, but boy, does this artwork not look realistic. It looks like a children's book, like, illustration. I don't mean like Paw Patrol or Dora or something, but I mean like something where it's almost like a live action real picture, but it's just so like halfway to cell shaded. I don't really know how to describe it because I'm not that good with art, but it's just lacking in detail. It doesn't look real. It actually, I would say, looks like an amateurish painting. You know, compare it to like some Planeswalker from a former set and you're like, yeah, that looks like a real person. And honestly, some of the cards like, you know, Danitha or whatever, I think, they were like rendered in full 3D and they're like all shaded and lit correctly and all that. Like, you look like you can reach out and touch it. It's supposed to look realistic. Whereas this, I'm not saying it's bad. It's like, it is an art style, but it's just odd that they would switch it up like this. I don't know if they're going for like a storybook look or something, or like an old, like early 1900s, or actually 1950s, this really looks like a watercolor. It's just strange. It's very, very, very strange. So anyway, according to their image gallery, that was the last card, but according to the article posted right before this, it isn't. So I can almost guarantee that I'm missing some at this point, but let's jump into the rest of these. First up, Game Plan. That's some weird artwork. Assist, okay, cool. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards. And then exile this, because otherwise you could loop it with all this degenerate crap like Torrential Gearhulk. I never did like glorified like Wheel of Fortune effects, and I mean, unless you know what's in your opponent's hands, you don't know if they're going to come out ahead or worse. Although, you all draw 7 cards, so if they have 1 card left in hand and you have 6, you're automatically going to not come out ahead. But if it's the other way around, you're probably going to come out ahead. Still, the unpredictability, the necessity to know more information than you normally would, I just don't like cards like this. I think this one's pretty bad. Next up, Stolen Strategy. It's an enchantment, costs 5, it's red, and at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of each opponent's library. Until end of turn, you may cast non-land cards from among those exiled cards, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. Wow, that's cold as ice. That is quit hitting yourself in card form. So this is pretty nuts, but if they flip up a land, you can't, quote, cast lands, so you're not allowed to play the land. Other than that, this is absolute sheer power. And I have allegedly saved the best for last, according to Wizards. I guess I'll throw in some prices. I wasn't going to, but, you kind of want to know. This article they wrote is supposed to cover some of the more valuable reprints, I guess. So first up, Land Tax, about a $30-ish card that was printed about 1 million years ago. The original artwork, what do you even say about that isn't racist? But now it's a treasure chest, so at the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent controls more lands than you may search your library for up to 3 basic land cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. This would be devastating with that card, that saga that blows up all lands. All you would have to do is wait for them to play 1 land, clear their graveyard, and then you go get 3 and then drop 2 right back in. That would be cold as ice. So do you think this card is kind of inherently unfair once it's unleashed with, the other cards printed in the other 20 years after it, basically? But whatever, I've seen worse. The good news is it's a lot of money. Next up, Tidespout Tyrant. It's an 8-cost 5/5 with flying. Whenever you cast a spell, return target permanent to its owner's hand. Ouch. So this is like a $6 or $7 reprint, probably because it cost $8. I mean, what are you going to do with that? But boy, you want to talk about my trampoline deck. Woo, if you had a way to get this guy into play somehow, ouch. Next up, Diabolic Intent. This card's like $15-20 somewhere in that neighborhood. It's purple. I must have it in foil, even though I'm sure that would cost me $50 and I'd be forced to sell it. So actually, I hope I don't pull it in foil. But this is a black sorcery that costs 2 as an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a creature, and search your library for a card, then put that card in your hand, then shuffle your library. Classic fetch card. I'm pretty sure this is in just about every commander deck that runs degenerate fetching combo crap. Pretty clear to see why this is worth a fortune. It's a distinctly worse version of Demonic Tutor, but, whatever. So that appears to be all the spoilers. I say appears because their card image gallery, which allegedly contains all cards, doesn't contain all cards. So thanks for that, Wizards. Feel free to get your shit together anytime now. Oh, and if you guys want a proven, established strategy for absolutely crushing your opponents in Two-Headed Giant, make sure both you and your opponent are wearing some shirts from teespring.com, link in the description. I designed some great t-shirts myself. Some of them are kind of like inside magic jokes, and some of them are just blatantly awesome. I did personally order one of them, and I thought it was fantastic quality. So check that out, help support the channel, and I'll see you guys next video.